Hello, Las Vegas, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Golf at the Park, Angel Park Golf Club's weekly interview show. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. You know that whole deal. Excited about today. Today's the start of a new format to our show. We're calling it the Second Timers, and Michael Craigwood has been nice enough to sit down next to me. How you been, Mike?
Been great. Thank you.
You had to be first because you're the chosen one. Mike is the one who started helping me with most of this content a couple years back now. And he was one of the first guests on this show. And so we heard his golf story. We know that he learned to play golf with a 1-iron in the middle of an empty field, which is great. And we know a little bit about your golf process. But now what I want to do, now that I've got an extra year under the show's belt and it's found its voice, I wanted to bring in some of those people bring them back in from the first few episodes just to find out more about you and to have a true Michael Craigwood show instead of necessarily Golf at the Park with Michael. One of the fun things that I get to do for the first time is present Mike with a Angel Park Golf at the Park towel that says the talent.
Thank you, Jed.
That's kind of a long story, but the basis of it is that these guys that are coming on to this second time being on the show, they really are the talent and the people that we're trying to showcase and platform. So thank you again. That's just a little token of our appreciation. And for the second show, we're going to play a new hole. As most of you know, the normal version of our show ends with a segment we call the Par 5, and we ask the same 5 questions every week. You've already answered those, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to ask a new 4 questions. We're going to play a Par 4 this time. You're the first one that gets to play it with me, so you excited?
Very excited. Let's get it.
And that's going to be the whole show. What we're going to try to work on is really just getting in depth to you. And so we're going to see if we can stretch these 4 questions out into a really good look into who Michael is. So if you're ready to go, we're going to start with the first question. And that would be, what's your favorite round of golf that you've played this year since we were back on the show? And who are some of your favorite players and people you've met playing golf this year?
Okay, that's a great question. One of my favorite rounds of golf this year. You
almost had an ace on Cloud 9. I remember that day specifically because you called me and you said, wow, I almost had an ace.
Yeah, so my short game's been playing really good. I played Cloud 9, I played it the other day, and I shot 1 over, and that was with 3 birdies, so it was a pretty bad day as far as just putting.
Right.
But my favorite round, I've met some really cool clients throughout this year, and one of the clients I've been doing some work for is Back Nine Bullies, and we went and played Paiute together, and that was a really fun round of golf. I'd never played Paiute before, and I think their greens roll truer than any greens out in Las Vegas, or at least that I've experienced. Really, 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 really fun.
That's awesome. And I think I want to get into the Back Nine Bullies. They may come up a couple different times. And let's just do a little background on them. The way that I found them is that they reached out through Instagram and said they were coming to play. And so we gave them a discounted rate off their resort rate because they were going to shoot some content. I went out and met them on the course. Great guys. They're not local, which was fun for us. They were one of the very first non-local groups that we started working with through the show, and they've got a great clothing line. Why don't you explain to us how you met them and what some of the projects you did with them, because I know you worked with Gage. I want to talk about all of it.
Yeah, for sure. I met Back Nine Bullies on Instagram, and we just started chatting. He was coming into Las Vegas to just get a couple rounds in, and that's how we met. It wasn't really through business at first. We just started golfing together. We golfed at Paiute. I golfed with John, who owns Back Nine Bullies, on I think at the Legacy. And we played for his birthday round, and then he came back out again recently. And only recently we started doing videos or photos and stuff together.
So what was the project with Gage, and how did that happen? Because we were out here in the morning. You did a really cool piece with Gage swinging and changing shirts mid swing. That was really fun. Take us through that shoot that day and what some of your ideas were and how your planning went behind that content piece.
Yeah, that content piece actually was not very complicated, and really what John asked for was like 10 to 15-second clips that were not overly complicated. He didn't want anything too extra. So that was kind of the brief, and that's what I went for, is just something simple, but, elegant, looks nice, like has some kind of creative twist to it. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to hand him something and him be like, dude, I asked for something simple, and this is way too extra. So yeah.
Well, let's talk
That's the
about
idea
that
there.
because I think the algorithm and the ways you and I and most people try to think about these things is there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. Sometimes the short ones tend to do better, right? Because you want people to watch all the way through the bit.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how you've what you've learned about algorithms and how you go through the process of creating also, because you do long form content, you do short form content.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the different kinds and some of your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, I would love to talk about my thoughts on algorithms. Okay, uh, algorithms are trash. Don't worry about them. Like, what you need to do is find your own authentic voice and keep working at it. There's literally there's if you put enough work into anything, the universe will give you something back. That is just like a law of life. That's something that I decided a long time ago. There's no way that I'm going to work this hard at something and like be unsuccessful. And so, I don't have a ton of followers, but I have a ton of clients. And so you got to ask yourself like what it is that you want. If you're like, I think that is a huge problem in golf content and content today, is that what everybody's looking for is that one viral piece of content instead of like longevity. You hit it viral, what next? What are you going to do next? Try to get another viral clip. Like, you're shooting into you're like, there's millions of people just posting random things off their phone and hoping that it pops. So if yours one time pops, is it going to pop again?
Right.
How many times is that going to happen? Is there any longevity in that? Is it like, it's like literally gambling, going to a casino, winning some money from a slot machine and going, hey, I can pay my bills with this. I can feed my family with this. No, you can't. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to lose that money. And so you're going to lose that bet every time. And it's just like one of those things that I think people hinge on too much. They really believe that that's the thing that is holding them back. And I think the thing that's holding them back is mostly intentionality.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. So talk about how you decide between what's your favorite kind of content to shoot, because you do drone footage, but you do much more than that.
Yeah, my favorite type of content to shoot is the stuff that tells a real story. And it could be a myriad of things. It could be shooting an event, and shooting the event is telling the story of how like the people got off the bus, they walked into the room, they ordered their drinks, they had a blast, they had all these things going on. And when you put it all together, just like seeing the smiles and the energy of the room, that can be really, really rewarding. Also, like filming like a sports event, that could be really cool. Just seeing, the hockey team walking into the building and coming out for warm-ups and then beating their opponent 9-4, and everybody, the crowd's elated and the energy in the room is huge. And I think just telling the best story in the best way you can and like showing the little pieces of it, that's to me is like it's an art. And
Yeah,
it's what I like.
it's certainly an art, and you're certainly an artist. And I'm glad you brought up hockey, because I think my favorite piece that you've done this year is one of your most recent ones. It came out a month ago or something, about the UNLV hockey team, and it's a fantastic piece. We hope to show it to you here right now. I'm going to be learning some editing tricks on YouTube, but why don't you talk us through? It has something to do with Opportunity Village, which is a great organization here in town. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that happened and what that's about?
Yeah, so my girlfriend's mom, who is the owner of MJ Christensen, the jewelry store in Boca Park,
Right up the street.
she's actively involved with Opportunity Village, and so is one of the coaches of the UNLV hockey team. The coach posted something on Facebook looking for a video guy, and I was fortunate enough for her to send that link over to my girlfriend, and she sent it to me, and I applied right away, and we got in contact right away, and luckily stars aligned. So
How long did that take to shoot?
Okay, so this particular video took maybe 2 hours to shoot, and it was put together like super last second. So one of the really fun things about some of the work I've been doing recently is it's been extremely challenging as far as like creatively. I don't have a lot of time to think, and I really have to like, operate. What do I say? Like on my toes, so to say.
Yep.
But yeah, I got asked the weekend before if I could do this shoot, and then I was given a few details about it. Some of the details didn't make sense to me, so we changed everything last second, and then all these guys were getting done with a golf tournament, so it was kind of like we had to just show up and shoot it right before sunset, and we had maybe 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I love that went that fast because you could see all of your tricks. I guess because I've followed all of your content the whole way. I pick up a new trick you do, it seems like, in any video that I'm like, oh, that's new. He learned that. That's cool. And then it seemed like the hockey one had like 6 of those in there. And I just thought that was neat, right? It wasn't just the puck that was kind of reminded me of the Frisbee. And we'll talk about that piece. But yeah, I love watching your artistic journey as it's going, because you can see how much you've progressed even in just the last year.
Thank you so much. And, actually what's interesting is in that video, I did create my own custom transition. It's, overlay transitions are extremely popular right now. You can buy them in packs and you just stick them right on top.
I get ads for those packs all the time.
Right. And I took that to another level, and I decided to shoot my own overlays, like my own shots from my own overlays, and then combine them together in ways, and then add a particular effect that basically makes it a seamless transition.
Wow.
And yeah, I just thought that was like one way of like, it's like I said, when you shoot the B-roll and adding those little pieces that are the artwork that tell the story, it's like having hockey players in the desert. I need to bring them into Las Vegas somehow. So
yeah,
I need clips of Las Vegas to splice in the most like flashy way to just like pump into your mind. Like, these boys are here in UNLV.
Speaking of Vegas, let's talk about the one you did on the Strip. And I think you might have done this for Nacho Normal Media.
Okay.
Was that right? And it was just really cool stuff it was just on the Strip, and it was drone footage, but it was amazing. Tell me about that shoot.
Okay, so that wasn't drone footage. That was me running around with a gimbal. I probably put in like 25,000 steps that day. And
that's not a drone?
No.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's what people would refer to as a hyperlapse. And, for me, that was a growth moment, because I needed to learn how to do a technique and make it my own. And I wanted to understand how to warp around places. And so I found out how much work it is. It's a lot of work and it's exhausting, but to understand the technique and that's half of becoming a creator. Right. And so, oh man, and we'll talk about how I feel about content creators later. But,
yeah.
It was just like opening up some doors in After Effects. I wanted to learn how to use time remapping. I wanted to learn how to add my own motion blur. And yeah, that was most of it. It was just practicing of techniques.
That's interesting. And I want to hear your take on content creators. Maybe this is a good question to get us headed in that direction. So I've known you now for 2 years. And there have been quite a few peaks and valleys for both of us in our careers. And one of the things that you've struggled with, if you don't mind me sharing, is proprietary issues and concerns, theft of your art.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk to me about some of the frustrations and challenges from that, and those examples? Obviously, you don't need to throw anybody under the bus. I know you're too classy for that. But let's talk about what the struggles were and then what you learned from that.
Yeah, for sure. So I think being creative is or just being a content creator, being somebody online who is, makes digital art. I think that there's a lot of value in that, and people see that. They see it for their business, and they see it for their own person. They can see it for their own golf channel. They can see it for their brand. They can see it for all kinds of things. I think that people get carried away a little bit with like the idea of that one video that pops, right?
Right.
And so
I know I do.
So they, I will like meet people and we'll talk some things and I'll let them in on like an idea that I have. And before I'm ready to take on that idea, they went
They're
off and
doing
tried to
it.
do it themselves. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, it's fine because there's this like fundamental thing that I understand of how I'm going to do it way different than they were going to do it. And if anything, all you did was show me how you were going to do it. And now I'm going to turn mine up even harder. So like,
There is that way
way
of
to show
looking
your
at it.
cards, man.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now I'm also not going to let you in on my channel. So that sucks for you. But
Right.
you know, that's like, I don't know. It's just kind of neither here nor there. Like, I think that I'm starting to run into this thing where I believe that the term content creator is like really loosely used. Like it's like being an Instagram model or a Call of Duty soldier. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
If you just like a lot of people will just record something on their phone and post it and they're like, I am a content creator now.
Right.
And it's like, are you using the tools that content creators use? Are you actually learning the things that professionals use to create content? Or are you just taking your phone and saying, this is what it is, and I'm on your level because I have a phone? And there's just a difference, I think, in like how you think about it. And like, it's the easiness, there's a laziness to it.
Yeah, I think, well, and I guess there's a fine line there too. In people have got to start somewhere, right? Like,
100%.
for example, J.R. Michael, who could be the very next second timer that we have coming in. I'm speaking with him right now. He's become much more of a photographer, a better photographer in the last year, and I know he's proud of that, and he's honing that. And so, yeah, there's different levels, right? Where there are beginners, but I think there's a little bit more of the syndrome of, oh, I'm really good at this without being really good at this, right?
Yeah, and to reword it in a better way, you're right. Like, you have to start somewhere. But you see, I've seen too many people who started a long time ago and have not stopped doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder, like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for something to change? Is it a brand deal? What's a brand deal? If you get
Yeah.
a brand deal from someone, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so, and I have literally met people who tell me they're looking for a brand deal, but they have no idea what they want to do with their content. And so to me, it's just like there's a disconnect between like what you want to do and your intentions and like what you're hoping is going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's all. And like people learning, that's so different because you're learning. It's a process. And like JR, I've seen his work evolve over time.
Right.
He's getting so much better to the point where I'm like, dude, giving him, shout out comments like, bro, great freaking photos. You're doing such a good job.
Yeah.
When I come across him,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, but then there's some other people who just, again, always just posting the same thing. For example, and one of the best examples of this is the golf at the park. Golf at the park. Angel Park is more than a golf course competition. How many videos I saw of someone going, Angel Park is more than a golf course. Now watch me golf.
Yeah.
And then they did nothing different. All they did was hit a ball. And I was like, that's not, and I, like, you're just entering the competition.
Well, let's talk about the contest a little bit because no, I think that's fun, and I hadn't thought of it. I don't think it would have come up in this unless you brought it up. But the content contest was originally an idea I had that I wanted to work with you. A little behind the curtain information that we ended up not going with any partnerships with anybody, and so. What did you think about that contest? What I in addition to what you just said, did you have a favorite piece or two out of those that you saw?
So, I mean, right when the contest started was when I started getting really busy. And so I wasn't paying attention as much. I saw a couple of pieces, but a lot of the pieces I saw were just somebody on a driving range
Right.
and they go, Angel Park is more than a golf course. And then they hit a ball. And that was their whole piece of content.
Yeah.
And so I just found that, like, maybe people had missed it a little bit. And at the end of the day, it wasn't as much of a contest as it was a raffle. So it was like, if you enter a piece of content, you're entered in this raffle.
Right.
But there's no incentive for anybody to come out and do something better. I had a great piece of content where I was going to make Angel Park is more than a golf course. It's my canvas. It's this place where I flesh
Oh,
out
that's
ideas,
cool.
where I bring things to life. And I had all these ideas of how to animate trees into places, and it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I felt like the incentive to come and do high level work was
Right.
diminished by it being a raffle.
Yeah. And one of the reasons we made it a raffle is because everyone was saying that, Mike was going to win it, which there was an argument that should have been structured that way, because you do the best work. But I think, to be fair, there were so many good pieces that weren't like that. And so, and I'm glad that it came up, because Scales won the driver. Again, proving that it was a raffle at the end of the day, because Brandon, the No Look King, and Chris, Stick and Greens, definitely got the most pieces in. And all the pieces were really appreciated, but some of them really stood out. Chris, Stick and Greens did one with his kids that went pretty viral, and it was just wholesome, and it was great, and it was just about mothers, and it wasn't anywhere near Mother's Day, but it was just the cutest little piece, and it was one of his shortest ones he did, and it won the most popular because it was the most popular. JR, again, coming up again. I thought your piece was my favorite. Well, no, and then Mikey came in and took it. Mikey Bruscino's piece was amazing. I thought a lot of the guys did really, really good, and gals. So that was fun. And I do want to come up with another one. I don't know what it'll be, and it's got to be different, but I think those contests are neat just because so many people met each other, right? That's when Alex came back in. He's going to be on an episode here pretty soon. Melosi came down from St. George. He's going to be on an episode pretty soon. And so it's been fun meeting new people through all of this. And it's just one of the things that's going on within this whole network of ideas that we're trying to get to, right?
Yeah.
Which is probably a little long-winded, but yeah, I love all of that. And I think, that's going to kind of tie us into question number 2. And it's going to be interesting. I think these are all going to be, the second timers are going to be much more free flowing. So hopefully that makes for a better storytelling experience instead of me just asking questions and getting short answers. Question number 2. What kind of golf content are you consuming right now? And how much time would you say you allot to it?
Okay, so I'm not consuming a ton of content right now.
Because you're busy.
In general, because I'm very busy, but I do have time blocked out in my calendar every day to engage on social. So
for business.
Yeah. So, it's not like if I don't see your post, or I didn't like it, or I didn't comment on it, it's not because I didn't want to. I have a lot of things going through my feed all the time, and I'm sure you guys understand that yourself. And it's just that I only have so much time a day to even be on social media, like engaging. So that's kind of part of it. And that being said, I work in multiple industries, and not just golf, but now hockey, and
There's some race cars.
Yeah, I've been working in some other things so as well. I'm shooting F1 coming up, so I have a lot of different projects in the wheelhouse, and so just kind of staying relevant in all the industries and just understanding what I'm doing. It's just important. So as far as golf goes, like I like a lot of Roger Steele stuff. He has like hot takes on things that I agree with. Sometimes I don't.
Do you prefer the short or the long form content?
Usually, like, what I really love is when somebody takes something that feels long form and puts it into a short form method. So it could be like a minute or less, but you flesh out an entire idea and get me thinking. And that's really cool.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's, again, that goes back to, I love that you said algorithms are something that you shouldn't pay attention to, but that is one of the things that is key. If you can make a minute reel and you can get people to watch all the way through the end of it, that's, I think, the best performing content. Just because you get people to spend more time thinking about whatever your story or your message is, which I guess for me, from an Angel Park standpoint, all we want to do is get reach and get people to be aware that when they come to Vegas, you want to come play golf under the lights on Cloud 9. and when you're coming to town and you want to play golf, we want you to come here. So I know you wanted to do, and you have, but you've had ideas about long form content. Is there a reason why you haven't kind of dove into that more? Because it's just not lucrative. It's not going to get you much. It's more of a hobby idea.
Yes and no. That's a tricky question, right? So if like work is slow for me, I think I need to focus on work and not focus on the free stuff, like the things I want to do. Right now, work is great for me. So hopefully when I have some time coming up, I can get back into some of these projects I've been thinking about. And that's just kind of the ups and downs of business. But I'm sorry, can you like ask your question once more time?
Oh yeah. I mean, just so I know that you've had some long form content ideas in the past. I know about a couple of yours in the future. I'm wondering how you prioritize again, and I think you just kind of said it, the ups and downs of business. It's going to be, so you have hobby interests in content creation and professional, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I mean to say hobby interests, I mean, I think they're all professional interests because of like kind of where I've taken my hobby. It's no longer my hobby anymore, really.
Sure. No, it's
So, yeah, I think like at the end of the day, even if I were to start a new golf channel, I mean, I do hope to get sponsors, and I do hope to monetize, and I do hope to help the people and pay the people who are part of the channel. That's
sure.
It's how the circle of life goes around. So it's not, I have turned what I do into a business, but I think I have to find, like, this is one of the hardest things in the golf community is that everybody is so self-motivated because it's an individual sport, and I get it.
You mentioned this to me. Let's talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah, I've met some great people in the golf community. You, JR, like the boys who run Random Golf Club. Really cool.
VGN, all those guys.
Yeah, Gage. I've met, like, my friend Isaac who runs the Skin Grip thing, but I've met him out here. I met some really cool people out here, and then I've like met some people that were really cool, but like really disappointed me in ways and showed their selfishness.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking about starting something that is for the community, for golf, by golfers, for golfers, and then some of those golfers start showing how selfish they look, it's like, I don't know if I want to do all this work for you, because that's how you see it. You see that it is for you, not for what I'm trying to do, and I want to do something for people.
And I like that you pointed out that it's because it's an individual sport, and as opposed to, and I think one of the ways you noticed this was working with the hockey team, right?
Yeah. So that's crazy because I've been in the golf industry for what feels like years now, and I've been in the hockey industry for 2 months, and I've received so much love from different photographers and videographers in the sports industry in general, actually, but hockey specifically, and local Las Vegas hockey, like people referring my name for projects, even just reaching out on Instagram to tell me they love my work, and it's been super rewarding. I'm like, wow, it's in a way saving Las Vegas for me, which is like,
I know you've had
some
a tough
hard
summer
times here, and I've had some ups and downs, but I've met some great people lately, and it's got me feeling like super motivated.
So do you think that that's a symptom of that golf is behind a lot of this? We're still, I think Arcus Corporate still doesn't quite know how to wrap its head around this show and this idea. The golf courses don't have video interview shows.
Right.
And so we're approaching things a little bit different. Do you think that some of it's that it's an individual sport, as well as some of it's that golf is really slowly, Roger Steele only really got popular in the last couple of years, right? It's all still really new. Or is that social media that's new and content creation that's new? Is it a boom that happened because of COVID?
Yeah, I think that it's actually a boom that happened because of podcasts, and every industry period has started a podcast. And so golf got really big, really fast during COVID. It was one of the only things that was open. People started podcasts. People started doing new content because it was like, hey, I found golf. What if I merge this with golf? I had the same idea.
Yeah.
And I think that, but yeah, it's just like it got really big really quick. We got a lot of new faces in golf really fast. And I think some of the what would I call it? Like golf etiquette has gotten forgotten or lost at times.
That's one of the things that comes up when we talk about the least favorite things about golf. Some people say that it's gotten too many new golfers that don't respect it, and etiquette and decorum has gone down. And then there's the people who are just trying to get it more accessible and more accessible. And I definitely lean towards the latter. But it's an issue. Golf is steeped in tradition.
Yeah, I feel in the middle about it. I feel that the people who have been golfing for a long time and understand these rules, it's up to us to enforce them. It's like I come to Angel Park and I fix divots and I pick up trash, and I try to like set an example for the people around me, because they may be new to golf and they don't understand that. And I think that it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? We need to accept new people, but we also have to teach them the way.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of room for growth in the golf culture, because not everything needs to be as like, polos
Buttoned
and
up.
you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like, there has to be a respect factor, a respect for people and a respect for the course.
Yeah. Nope. I agree with that all down the line. And it's fun. It's just fun for me to talk about. Question number 3 is, what's one or two things you're passionate about in addition to golf? And I'm going to start you with one that I know of. I want to talk about your service in the military, and then veterans programs, and your thoughts about just one of your other passions in life.
Yeah, I've met a lot of great veteran leaders, a lot of great veteran business owners, and I've found that a lot of times people who have put their life on the line for their country tend to be leaders in their community as well. Giving is something that is like wired into them, whether it was beat into them in the military or
Right.
not, and not all the time, but I've just found that a lot, and it's been heartwarming at times to just meet people who give so much. And yeah, I see that a lot myself. So that is something that I actively work with veterans. I was a big part of a veteran group, and it's a nonprofit here in Las Vegas, but I've kind of fallen off of that personally for
Yeah.
my own personal reasons. But yeah.
Tell me about how you decided to go into the military. Tell me about just tell me a little bit about that, and about what you were excited about, what you were scared about, how that went.
Yeah, what was it, the housing crash of like 2002 or 2004 or something. My parents were like, we can't pay for your college. So I met an Army recruiter, and the Army guy was like, man, we'll get you in. And my parents were like, you're not joining the Army. So I was like, okay, I'll join the Marines. And they're like, you're not joining the Marines. I was like,
The
okay,
Marines is
fine.
one step up, right? No
Yeah.
offense to the Army.
Well, I was a little crazy. I was actually even signing up to do special forces in the Army, because I just felt like,
Yeah.
let's go.
That's cool.
And yeah, shoot. My parents talked me into going into the Air Force. And then I went into the Air Force and actually joined Special Forces in the Air Force, and got out of Special Forces and went to go be a diesel mechanic for personal reasons. But
Diesel mechanic. I
yeah.
didn't know that about you. Wow.
yeah, so I worked on diesels for 6 years in the Air Force, 2 tours to Afghanistan, and I was really good at my job, actually. So I made staff sergeant before I got out, and but when I got out, I kind of felt that like I wanted to do art, because Afghanistan changed me a lot. My
Right.
perspective, trauma will change anybody, but like,
Yeah.
perspective is everything. And I think that more than anything, I felt a little bit of guilt, because I came out like scratch free. I didn't lose an arm or anything, but I knew people who did. And so it was like,
That's so heavy.
it's just one of those things where it's like, dang, like I only came out with mental problems. Like, I think the best I can do is just put my foot down and be something great, because like, for the sake of everything that I've been through,
Yeah, and I feel like your laugh is even a little bit of a nervous laugh, right? Like that's a chuckle. I don't want to get into too uncomfortable of a place,
okay.
but I also think it's important. I mean, you bringing up mental health and PTSD, and I like talking about that on this show. I'm bipolar, and I struggle with mental illness. And what I've noticed is there have been more than 2 or 3 people who have sat in that chair that have explained how golf has helped them and how other ways have helped them. So if you don't mind talking to us a little bit about that, how do you cope with that? How have you learned to live with that?
Yeah, some days are better than others. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely days where I'm just frustrated with myself, and it could be a lot of things, which I won't really go too far into. But some of the ways that golf really helps is, exercise in general. Like really helps you think more clear, and sometimes like golf. Just getting frustrated at it a little bit helps me vent a little bit of my anger, my whatever I have built up inside, because it's weird to go from a place where what you're dealing with is real stuff all the time, and now like my problems these days are
Seem insignificant.
but you can still get the same kind of workup for some reason. So it's like, I wake up one day, I'm having a bad hand day, I'm just dropping everything everywhere, and I'm just like frustrated with myself, and that's my biggest problem of the day so far. But now I'm like going to come out and hit some golf balls and like hit my club into the ground a few times, because it maybe helps me exercise a little bit of that like release. But somebody else might laugh at me and be like, look at this goofer. But I'm like, whatever. I'm going to walk out of here feeling like refreshed and ready to go, like locked in, because it's just golf. Like
Mike Brusino did a great piece in the spring. It's a while back, but where he did it off the cuff. He was just recording and he said, I've had a bad day. I don't feel mentally great. I need some self-care. And so I'm going to go hit some balls. And then as he's coming off the range, he goes, better. I feel better.
Yep.
So it's so cool and it's so important.
Yeah.
So I do like talking about that, and I appreciate you being willing to share that with us. Question number 4, last question of the show. Thank you again for, and who knows, we could end up talking for another 20 minutes, but this will be the last question. How would you assess your game advancing from January when we last talked to now, and then I'm going to follow that up with, what do you see yourself doing over the next year in golf? But let's start with the first one. How do you feel like your last year of golf, just golf, has gone?
Honestly, this year has been a huge struggle. Last year I was playing really, really well, and I was getting to where I was shooting like 1 over, 2 over consistently. And I felt like, okay, how do I get to that
Next
under
step.
par,
Yep.
right? And I felt that I wasn't hitting the ball as far as a lot of people, and that was something that was like in my head. Like somebody would hit a driver 20, 30 yards further than me, and so I'm like a whole club length or 2 club lengths up from them trying to hit the green, and I felt like that was a disadvantage. And then especially on par 5s, like trying to close that, hit it in 2 and score. And so I felt that if I could score more, I can break par.
Yeah.
And so I've made a lot of swing changes to like just get more effortless power, and I am hitting the ball a lot further now. But for this whole year, it's been a huge struggle, huge ups and downs. I'll have like a game where I just go play lights out, and I'm like, yes, I got it back, baby. And then I go 5 games in a row, just trash, shooting in the 90s. And I'm like, oh, dude, I need to just like give this game up. This isn't for me.
Yeah.
But recently I'm finding some consistency in some of the swing changes I'm making are becoming like more muscle memory, and I'm feeling way more confident. Like just the last game I played, I was striping them, and I felt like, there we go.
So as your scores have gone up and down, how's your practice routine been? Because one of my favorite pieces you did this summer, you did 2 of them with you out on the range and describing stick-to-itiveness, perseverance. And it was a great piece, and it was about your range routine. Tell us about the piece, and tell us about how your practice has gone this last year. Has that been up and down too?
Yeah, no, what's weird is I practice really, really well. So I've had like golf instructors practicing next to me, and I didn't understand, and they turn around and be like, I was going to give you tips on your swing, but you look great, man. The ball flight looks great. And I'm like, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
But then I get out on the course and I just start chunking it up, and I think what happens is I will start to struggle, and then I'll go to old tendencies, hoping to just play the way I used to, and I have to learn to incorporate the new things that I've been working on.
Yeah.
And what was the other part of that question?
The last question is, do you have goals? Where do you see yourself this time next year? If we sit down and we do a part 3, where do you think you're going to be in your golf game then?
Well, I hope to break par soon. Seriously, like I'm hitting the ball way further. I feel way more control. And in my putting has gotten remarkably better recently.
You were one of the first guests, not only that we had on, but one of the only that you really practice putting. You start with your putting, and you've put a lot of effort into your putting. The piece that you did that made me reach out to you was on the west side putting green on the other side of the restaurant. You did a ball rolling and you followed it into the cup. I don't know if you remember that one. It's been over 2 years ago, but that was the first one that caught my attention. I was like, I got to meet that guy. He's doing good stuff. So I think that that's important too. Why don't you take us through your practice routine when you're coming out?
Yeah, for sure. And I forgot I was actually going to chat about the content piece, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
I
Let's
forgot
do
about
it.
that.
No, let's do it.
The content pieces are more not so much about golf, but more about like patience and making good changes in life. And I have a lot more pieces planned and written, but I've started to think like I don't want everything to be about golf. And
Sure.
that's just part of it. It's like I think I just want slivers of my future pieces to be about golf because golf is part of me. But yeah.
Yeah, no,
can't
I
wait.
think
Like,
I think that's fascinating. I think that's really cool. Now take us through your practice routine.
of course. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's what this entire show is about.
The practice routine is there's a huge statistic where like 80% people miss 80% of their putts between 6 and 12 feet. And I find that my short game is not so bad and that I hit a lot of my shots between 6 and 12 feet. So, dang, okay. I'm like,
Got to get better at those.
yeah, like I'm always landing in the hottest spot to miss. And it's like, dang, I need to work on those short to intermediate putts because it's really weird on like a long 25-foot putt. Sometimes I can get stupid close and it's like, just like narrowing that vision helps you see the line better.
Yeah.
And then, anything 6 feet and in feels kind of short. So it's like, just give it a tap and make sure you follow your line. But then you start getting in that weird little intermediate range. It's just like a pull-up jumper from right inside the three. It's like, oh, it's kind of an awkward spot. And I don't know, how hard do I hit it?
Yeah.
And so I just practice putting a lot because I think that that's where I'm going to get a lot of strokes back.
No, that's where all scoring happens, and that's really smart. Mike, I'm so happy you came back in. You seem more comfortable. I watched your first episode last night in preparation for this. Not only does it look a lot better now, your microphone isn't up over your face and completely in the shot. So I'm a little proud of better framing now. But you seemed to me to be more comfortable this time. Did you have fun this time?
Yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah.
we were just figuring out what it was last time. So
Yeah,
there
and
a
it
lot of
was
questions.
awkward and it was clunky, but we had to do that because again we were beginning. So thank you again so much, brother. Your
Absolutely.
friendship means a lot to me, and
Same.
you coming on this show means a lot to me. Thank you for tuning in. We're gonna start doing these second timers once a month, so you'll get 3 new episodes of Golf at the Park, 3 new characters to meet, and 1 repeat to get to meet a little bit more in the future. So thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And until next time, hit 'em straight from your friends at Angel Park and Mike the Video Wizard.
Peace out.
Cheers.